Hello, and welcome to Surging Ahead. This is Brett, and today we're going to talk about the way media covers EVs and why everything has to be a Tesla killer. So let's dig right in. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is why they do this. I think the biggest reason is merely SEO. If you put the words Tesla in a video, say it a lot, your video is far more likely to get noticed. So it just makes sense to every time you do a car review of the, I don't know, any EV out there, to go ahead and compare it against the leading manufacturer in the space and the one that gets the most search traffic. So drop those words out there and your video is more likely to be seen, or your blog post, or whatever it is. Tesla brings traffic. So if you mention those names, you're more likely to get views on it. So I think you get a lot of stuff comparing those that maybe doesn't even make sense. I think another thing is diagnosing the Tesla and other cars market as the EV market. So they kind of come out there and they compare EV to EV rather than trying to compare EVs to all other vehicles. And I think, if you look at what the actual EV market is right now, according to the International Agency or Energy Agency, apologies, IEA.org, in 2019, EVs made up only 2.6% of global sales at roughly 2.1 million vehicles sold. This also includes the PHEVs, so, hybrid, plug-in hybrids, I guess. So the numbers of all electric vehicles would be even lower. So if you compare all of these to the market, I guess you can see why they would limit those comparisons. But I don't think it's apt anymore, and I think it does the consumer a disservice by only comparing those particular products. So why do I think this is bad? First off, I mean, if you look at what the EV competition is, if you're only competing against EVs, you're only ever seeing an audience out there that was initially looking for electric vehicles, right? If people were looking for a mid-sized family sedan or something, they'll never see the Model 3, because when they're comparing mid-sized family sedans, they're only seeing the gas cars typically. So they have to go out of their way to try to get into the segment of the market where an EV would actually exist. And this is problematic because people really aren't seeing anything else. And it does a disservice to other manufacturers that aren't Tesla to actually move their electric vehicles, because if they're not being compared against other vehicles people are looking at, and the only term people are searching for is Tesla, it becomes harder and harder to find those other vehicles. Now, you can go into dealerships, but historically, at least, dealerships have not been necessarily keen on showing EVs unless you go and specifically ask for it. So, yeah, that's problematic. The other thing that kind of concerns me is doing this and always comparing against everything Tesla could help to continue to further Tesla's market dominance. So if anyone is ever looking at any EV and all they ever come across are ratings and comparisons against a Tesla, well, and you start doing comparisons and looking around, why wouldn't you just end up getting a Tesla? It's obviously the benchmark. Everybody wants it, and people are just going to go that route. Now, don't get me wrong. I personally love Tesla. I am on my second Tesla now. I wholeheartedly endorse them, but I don't think it's the right car for every single person. And I don't want them to be so far above the market that nobody else inspires any innovation. So I like to have multiple players. And if you look at it right now, according to Inside EVs in 2020, Tesla recorded nearly 80% market share of BEVs in the US. That's just an astounding number. Now, they still only sold like 250,000 EVs or something like that in America, so it's not like they're crushing it to a level that nobody else can ever reach. But that is an astounding market share. And market share, is meaningless really in a lot of metrics with a small, rapidly expanding market. As other people come in, selling 1,000 cars has an effect at this point, right? So yeah, that 80% number will not continue to hold true, hopefully at least. But still, you want competition and healthy competition in markets, and you want to see comparisons against other vehicles other than Teslas in order to see EVs not always be benchmarked against that. So what would I like to see? First off, and as I've been discussing a little bit here, I would like to see EVs reviewed against other competitive cars, gas and electric. So, if someone's doing a review of a Mercedes S-Class, or, maybe mention, hey, here's how it compares to the BMW 7 Series, and here's how it compares to the Tesla Model S, and here's how it compares to the Audi A8, and at that point, hopefully the Audi e-tron GT, and the Porsche Panamera, and the Porsche Taycan, and just bring out all these cars in similar classes and kind of compare them and say, hey, this is what's great. I love these cars, and maybe Tesla doesn't win those comparisons, or the Taycan doesn't win those comparisons, and maybe the gas cars continue to win. But if you're not pushing them, if you're not comparing it against that, then you're not really seeing where they add up and how they compete. It means that the market share will continue to be suppressed of EVs, and it doesn't challenge the gas cars to become better, and it doesn't give a good benchmark for the EVs to be measured against. And, if you're a consumer and you're looking for a car, you want all the comparisons. You don't just want this small niche group of comparisons. You want to see all of the competitive cars in that class, and comparing the EVs in those comparisons would help a lot. Now, I don't care. They can still use terms, clickbaity titles. For all I care, the new S-Class can be a Tesla killer. That's fine. Throw it in there. Do whatever you want to bring that SEO there. But those comparisons, even if they're not favorable for EVs, will help to bring awareness and improve the market. So I would like to see those reviews being handled in that way. So I guess kind of to close it all up, I think if EVs start being compared against all cars, that start stacking these cars against each other, it does a better service to the consumer. People will know more, they'll be more aware of all choices, and be able to make educated guesses. It improves cars in all markets, whether that's gas and EVs, by having the full scale of competition. And it just helps to educate everyone. Obviously, my mission that I want to see here is more EVs out there. I think having owned a few and having driven gas cars before that, even some gas cars I really liked. Don't get me wrong, there's still something that there's something deep within me that still loves the rumble of a big V8 engine. It sounds really cool, but it doesn't sound cool enough to make me not want to continue to drive what I consider to be a better vehicle in an EV. For my use cases, there's nothing more convenient, and I think that would be the case for a lot of others. But there are other segments of the market where an EV does not make sense. I use my Tesla to tow an RV. That's tough. Let me tell you, it is not necessarily the best way to handle an EV. I have significantly less range. Maybe the Cybertruck or a Rivian will fix that for me, but I have my doubts. And so if you're looking for something to move and pull big, heavy things, I'm not sure an EV is your best guess. And I know it's not the best option today. So obviously there are segments of the market where EVs just need to do better. And having those comparisons and talking about them helps to bring awareness. And at some point, that narrative will change and EVs will be good enough. Maybe not the best in that segment, but good enough to really meet people's needs. And maybe people start thinking, well, I only have that need every once in a while, but on a day-to-day basis, boy, it would be nice to never have to worry about filling my car up because it's just full when I leave home. Now, the people live in hotels, or sorry, not hotels, but apartments, and it's not the most convenient for them. But for most use cases, it's more convenient to own an EV. If you take the time to do the math, it may even be cheaper to own an EV, depending on how much electricity costs around you and how much you spend on maintenance. There's all of these things are important, and just getting people to start thinking about them will help push this forward. And the more people that are looking at them, the more people that are doing this, the more demand will start to go out there. The more automakers that are not just Tesla will start to push to try to do better in these segments. And hopefully we'll see a switch towards more sustainable energy forms of transportation. So that's my rant. Thanks for listening. Please let me know if you have if you disagree, or even if you agree, in the comments, or go ahead and send a reply to my Twitter, at surging_ahead. And once again, thanks for listening. Have a great day.